2020 is a year of transformation that's brought humanity to an unfamiliar point in history. We are grieving, we are remembering, and we are finding ways to push ahead. And at the center of the cultural effort is Hong Kong's Spotlight by Art Basel, an innovative event that leverages art and culture to bring people together safely and to re-inject a spirit of global solidarity that we all need at this time. In a special set of interviews to celebrate Hong Kong's Spotlight, I speak to Art Basel's Adeline Wee, collector Alan Lowe, and gallerist Anna Ning. I'm James Chow with the China Current, and it's our honor to bring you their stories. Alan, thanks very much for coming on to the China Current. You are a collector and an Art Basel global patron, but there's a whole other person that informs those roles. Born in Hong Kong, and then how does that story continue?
I left Hong Kong at the age of 15, attended a boarding school in Connecticut, followed by Princeton University where I studied architecture. After that, I spent a year in London where I began my hospitality career and eventually returning to Hong Kong in 2004 where I began my journey as a restaurateur.
But what was the thread? Was it architecture that connected you from then to what you do now in art?
I guess I grew up in a collecting family. My father has been for the last 40 years collecting 20th century ink on paper. And my background in architecture and my passion in design, so it's multidisciplinary, I guess, in a way that kind of eventually led me to this context of contemporary art.
We've seen some of the works from your father's collection that's named for your mother, and that's very different to what I see behind you now and what you see behind me.
Our family collection has probably over 1,000 works, so if I probably can't beat that. So if I want to start collecting, I probably want to look at something that is one, speaking a little bit more of kind of my experience with the world, and two, probably something like just aesthetically a bit different from what I've been growing up looking at.
You were born in Hong Kong. I know that you care very much about the future of Hong Kong. This Hong Kong Spotlight by Art Basel has been built around a community, and for the first time in its global history puts a showcase on one city, one community, one part of one culture. What do you want people to draw out of this? And I suppose, is this the future of fairs that we're looking at now?
It's definitely one of the models that we need to look at. I mean, in light of COVID, in light of the new normal, it's no longer the kind of international fairs that we've been accustomed to, where people fly in from all over the world. How do you create this kind of uber local, uber global situation, making use of technology, making use of other tools to still create an interesting experience for collectors and the art community?
So instead of, say, going to an airport and getting on a plane, we'll be maybe getting into a car, a tram, a bus, and that makes it environmentally also very sustainable.
And I think it makes us rethink the whole art fair model, where people are kind of like traveling to so many different cities every single year, both gallerists and dealers, as well as the patrons and the collectors. In a way, it's a bit of a wake-up call.
Does this mean also that you will be collecting differently, or we will be looking at art differently, not necessarily, as we said, in exhibitions or via galleries or museums that may have closed in cities because of lockdown and social distancing? Does it change the way that we interact with what we've always interacted with, culture?
And I guess because of, owing to the growth of the market and also like globalization, it became so normal to go to 7 fairs or 10 fairs, every year. It's still nice to be able to physically look at art. It's something that I still embrace, but we just have to maybe instead of 10 fairs, we look at 2 fairs.
You've brought up some of the underpinning events that are continuing to reshape the geopolitical landscape. And you've been a big part of culture, especially here in Hong Kong. How best do you think you can leverage that role in bringing people together and with a cultural interface at a time when we are sometimes split, when we're sometimes being divided by politics and by current affairs?
How do you bring together people and still be able to engage in... We can all have our different opinions, but I think it's important for dialogues and conversations to be constructive.
Alan, thanks very much.
Thank you, James.